Welcome to the Port City Plate Podcast, presented by the Bienville Bites Food Tour. The Port City Plate Podcast, serving up the food, history, and people of Mobile, Alabama, for people who love the Port City. And today's episode, we're talking about one of my favorite places in Mobile, Cammy's Old Dutch Ice Cream Shop. I have Cammy Wayne sitting in with me today, and I think it goes without saying for most Mobilians that Cammy's Old Dutch Ice Cream Shop is one of the most iconic places in all of Mobile.
I think so.
And one of the most beloved places
Yes.
for many, many Mobilians. They've been open right there at the corner of Florida and Old Shell since 1969. Cammy has owned and operated the ice cream shop there since 1998. And Cammy's just got some fantastic stories about working there as a teenager and how she's made Cammy's a household name in Mobile. And so this is a really going to be a good episode. Cammy, thank you for coming to the Port City Plate Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm curious, I want to hear your background first. You know, we had Deborah Hodges on a couple episodes ago, and she mentioned how you and her and the owners of Gunkles, y'all all grew up on the Parkway in Mobile.
People.
So
yes.
talk about your background growing up here.
Yeah, I was. I'm one of 7. My father was a railroad man. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and I grew up more towards the Loop area. But I loved our neighborhood, Fulton Ridge, Zula Lanes, where I grew up. I went to Maryville, Maynes, and then BC Rain.
Okay.
And so Deborah and I, we've been together a lot of those years.
Yep.
So, and it's funny, we produce really good, hardworking people on the Parkway.
Right, yeah. I know you kind of have to go back, I guess, a ways now to really think about the Parkway. That used to be a really good, thriving suburban, really great part of town.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like I said, a lot of people that have a lot of roots there for sure.
Right, yes.
So your first job was working at Old Dutch Ice Cream Shop, right?
Yes, I was 16 years old.
16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But was it like in those days? What was your first job there?
It was good. Mr. Wedemeyer was a pretty tough boss, but it was good. I learned customer service, how to work with people. We had a lot of fun. As soon as he would leave and go home, we had a lot of fun. But you learn to, sometimes being the boss now, I'm like, I used to do that,
Yeah.
So, but it was a lot of work, but we had a good time. I still am friends with some of the people I worked with.
Really?
When we were there, yeah. And now they bring their kids to the ice cream shop now and stuff. So it was a lot. I think me and Mr. Wedemeyer knocked heads a lot. We were both hard-headed.
Okay.
And maybe it was 2 bosses working in the same place, So, yeah, we used to argue and fuss at each other.
That's funny. What are some vivid memories you have of that period of time?
Just the same part as we do now. Sundays, just crazy busy.
Yeah.
Just crazy busy, and that door just going 90 miles an hour, and you're just sitting here going, oh, please don't let another person walk through that door. As a 16-year-old, please. But now as the owner, I'm like, please come on in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It changes your perspective.
It does.
What is the history of the ice cream shop?
So Mr. Wedemeyer, if I'm hoping I'm getting this right, was Sylacauga, and they had an ice cream plant there. They closed that down. They moved to Mobile. Mr. Wedemeyer and his brother opened the ice cream shop on Florida Street, and later opened another one in Spring Hill.
Okay.
When I came on to work there, they had just shut the one down in Spring Hill, and I think it was because Mr. Wedemeyer did not own that building.
Okay.
He owned this one, so you could control the rent or how much you were paying. And so that's when I came in to work at Old Dutch. And one of the greatest things that I had a manager that was there, and Mabel Thornton, and she was the first African-American to compete in the Olympics as a sprinter.
Really? Okay.
Yes. So
Interesting.
she worked with me, and so we worked together. She called me when I bought it and congratulated me on buying it. And she is inducted into Alabama
The Sports Hall of Fame?
Sports Hall of
Okay.
Hall of Fame.
Really
Yes.
neat. Okay.
Yes.
Nice little
Isn't that
tidbit of
isn't
Mobile
that crazy?
history.
As I'm a runner now, but as a 16-year-old, I was like, big deal. You think, it was great that she was in the Olympics, but I didn't know what that meant, especially being an African-American, the first one. So that was pretty interesting. That was one of the great things.
Did Mr. Wedemeyer, did he have a lot of the old recipes? I mean, were those...
So, yeah, and I have them. It's basically the base. Most ice cream is 18%, 16%, 14%, and then when you get up in a lot of butterfat, ours is 12%.
Okay.
And I will not change that. I do not like a high fat content ice
Right.
cream. I don't like it when it you taste it in your mouth 2 hours later, that's too much fat in it. So that was one of the things. And then cane sugar had to be in there. And so I've stayed true to that. He did not make his own ice cream ever at Old Dutch, and everybody thought he did. It was made for him to his recipe by other places. The last one was Dairy Fresh, and when I purchased it from him in 1998, Dairy Fresh was still making his ice cream for him.
I gotcha. That makes sense then.
Yes.
The decor inside is very nostalgic.
Yes.
And is that by design, or has the ice cream shop always looked like that?
It's well, when I bought it, we had to do some cleaning. Mr. Weidemeyer was a chain smoker.
Okay.
So we had to clean everything. When I bought it, everybody told me, do not touch that wallpaper. And if you see the wallpaper, people take pictures of that wallpaper.
Yeah.
Whenever I have 5 seconds, I'm going to make some postcards so people can buy them and guess where I am. But I washed it. And everybody screamed at me and said, you changed the wallpaper. And I said, no, I took the nicotine off.
The faded yellow?
Yeah, the yellow. It's white. It truly is white. So there was some of that. His colors were orange and yellow. And then the ice cream shop was blue. And I painted the ice cream shop in yellow. And so the little kids in Mobile call it the yellow house. So because yellow is my favorite color for the outside.
Yep.
And then I had to get rid of the orange. So my colors are yellow and navy and red.
Yep.
That's what I like.
Okay. What were you doing in the years between working there? You started there at 16 and then you purchased in 98. No.
I was selling jewelry.
Okay, really?
So I'd had 2 children, a daughter and a son, and I worked at Zales Jewelers for like 8 years. And then I left there and worked at another place, and it just wasn't, I like to move.
Fast-paced? Yeah.
So I went to work for Mr. Billy Walker at Friedman's Jewelers.
Okay.
And he is who I watched run a business. And he taught me more in those 4 years than I've ever learned. He was an incredible businessman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you decide to purchase the ice cream shop, and how did that opportunity come about for you?
So I was picked my kids up from school, and I said, we're going to go down memory lane, and I'm going to show you where your mother worked when she was 16. So we go in, and Mr. Weidemeyer saw me, and he talked to me. He was on the counter, and we get the ice cream. And I looked at him, and I said, when are you going to retire? He goes, well, I'm looking for someone to buy it now. And I said, well, I might be interested. And so he told me the numbers and stuff, and I was able to get enough for a down payment. But he interviewed you, and he would ask you questions. And if you said, I'm bringing in hot dogs or I'm bringing in hamburgers, it was over.
Really?
It was over. Mm-hmm. You were not getting his ice cream shop. So he asked me about it. He goes, what are you going to change? I said, well, you're not going to smoke in here anymore. I said, I don't know if you haven't heard about secondhand smoke, but parents are a little bit touchy about you hanging over their 3-year-old with a cigarette in your mouth.
Yeah.
And so he laughed, and he said, well, I understand that. And so he did stay with me when I bought it. I put the down payment. He financed the building and the business because I couldn't have done it had he not done that. And he stayed with me for about a month and walked me through it, taught me, how to, do the paperwork. And this makes my CPA insane. My books are in pencil and a paper.
Even today.
That's how I do it. Even today. And my daughter's like, well, Mother, that they make stuff for you to be able to do that all on a computer. I said, I can do it faster this way. So I still do it that way.
That's
and
awesome.
Then it's up in my head too. So God help my kids if they ever have to take over and they're like, what is she talking about here? So he taught me a lot. And then he kind of didn't like some of the changes I brought. He was very straight. Everything had to be boom, boom, boom. I am the total opposite. I am chaotic. I love it. I'm messy, and I get in there and I just do it.
Yeah.
And so why are you bringing sprinkles in? And why are you bringing waffle cones in? And he was fussing at me. And I said, Mr. Weidemeyer, I appreciate everything you've taught me, but maybe it's time for you to learn a little bit from the younger generation. And he was okay with that. He backed off a little bit.
He was, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was the store, maybe more detail about what it was like in those early days of you running it, maybe after he had already gone.
Oh, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was 30 years old. I had 2 kids. I was a nervous wreck about not being up there so much. My kids grew up there.
They live there.
Yeah, they lived up there with me. Mr. Weidemeyer had different hours then. They stayed up until 10. They stayed up until 11 on Friday nights. And I was like, nope.
Yep.
But I was under such a microscope because so many people were like, you can't change this. What are you going to change? The wallpaper. All I did was wash it. So I had to watch myself very closely and not change stuff. Like they all said, the sign, it was knocked down during Hurricane Frederick and was on the side of the building.
Really?
And I had it brought back in. Well, I didn't change the name. I just left it blank, the Weidemar off, because I only bought the Weidemar name for 5 years.
Okay.
And then 2 years later, I put the Camis. And then, so I slowly brought it around, and I didn't touch the hours until almost like 2 years later. I said, I can't be a mom and be up here till 11 o'clock at night every night. I didn't want to do it. Yeah. And I didn't know what I was doing. I'll be the first. I made a lot of mistakes, but I couldn't, I was determined. And I was told by many people that I didn't know what I was doing and I wasn't going to make it. And I sometimes see them and they tell me, well, we were wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's a really good story. I love that. I mean, you slowly progressed and didn't reinvent the wheel.
Yes.
Kept what
was working. Yeah. Why would you do that? Don't change what's not broke.
Right.
I have brought a lot of more stuff in it. I do a lot of catering. A lot of people don't know that. I do a lot of catering. And I try to be out in the area giving and doing what you're supposed to do as a business.
Yeah. It's so important. It's so important too that you're the face of the business too.
Right.
And that makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. It does.
And it makes a huge difference for you that everybody can associate you and there's the ice cream lady, there's Candy,
that's right.
And they go in. So, but in 2011, y'all decided to start making the ice cream homemade, right?
Well,
or in store.
Bless his heart, my husband was only married to me for a year, and I don't know if you remember when the big rage was for all the yogurt shops to come out.
Oh yeah, yep.
So one opened up across the street from me, and I was scared. I was like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to tell you that I don't watch my competition, because I do.
Oh, yeah.
And if you can sit here and tell you that businesses don't, they're not telling you the truth. You have to watch your competition. And so I was terrified. And then I get the notice the next day from Dairy Fresh, we're not making ice cream anymore, we're closing down. So I went from panic mode. I reached out to Mayfield. They had 4 or 5 flavors. I reached out to a place in Florida. I had to buy a whole truckload. And I reached out to Hershey's, and all of them are a really good product, but they weren't mine. And I looked at my husband and I said, how can I expect people to come here and get something they can buy in the grocery store?
Yep.
It's so flooded. So I found this ice cream machine online, and we went to the guy. They're made in Florida, Emery Thompson, made in Florida. And my husband put his house up and bought them because they're expensive, and he bought me one. But then I couldn't find anybody to make my mix. I do not make my own mix. I do not milk the cow. I do not blend it, and it is made for me. I don't know if I ever want to do that.
Yeah.
It is very stressful, and it is a lot of work. And you have to worry about, are you pasteurizing it correctly and all this. So I looked, no one would even return my phone calls.
Wow.
So finally this guy did, and he said, I found you one. He was with a merchants or something company. He goes, but you have to buy 90 cases or they're not going to, because they're making it for you. So you have to buy enough. And I couldn't sleep that night. I said, I'm not going to be able to do this. I got to buy 90 cases. It's like $2,000, $3,000. I don't know what to do. So I bought it. And I had been going back and forth to Dairy Fresh and buying up all my used flavoring so I could see what company it was coming from, and my lemon and stuff, because people were watching me. She's going to change it. She's going to mess it up. And I started making it, and there were some mistakes, and I think I gained like 10 pounds because I had to taste everything that was coming out of there, and I was like, God, I don't want to eat another ice cream bite. So that's how it started. And then my customers were frustrated with me because I would make on Tuesday, and that's what we put out on Wednesday. I could not keep up. But when you're hungry, you just keep going. And so when someone asked me to make them for him in Gulf Shores, I said, sure.
Yeah.
So I did. Then we bought another machine.
How did you keep the old recipes intact?
Well, it's just what he printed to me. But Mr. Weidemar, he would tell anybody the recipe if you sat next to him for 5 minutes. He told you got to use this much butterfat and this much blah, 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 blah. So that's what you do. So it's just the base I'm keeping.
Okay.
And then the flavoring, like they come from all over. Like the peppermint ice cream. when I couldn't get peppermint ice cream anymore, I thought that I was going to have a riot in my parking lot. I was like, I got to figure this out. So that comes all the way from, Illinois. It's a certain peppermint flakes that I get. Well, they won't ship to me in the summertime because it melts. So right now I've been out of peppermint ice cream for 2 weeks, and it's getting desperate. So I'm going to have to tell them, put some dry ice on it and ship it down here. So it was those kind of things. You just have to make sure you keep all of that intact.
And I guess what went into the process of managing the consistency and the quality that
just errors and stuff, and just learning, this is how long I have to keep this is how long I have to keep it. Now that was all happening in my tiny little room at the ice cream shop. My husband was on one machine while he worked at Walmart all day. Then he'd come there. We were there till 2-3 o'clock almost every single night. Go home, sleep for 3 or 4 hours, come back. And I remember having a nervous breakdown driving down the road. I saw this sign for sale for my place on Halls Mill, and I whipped in and I said, "Is this for sale?" And she goes, "Talk to the bank. It's being foreclosed on." And I bought it. Yeah. And my inspector from the state, I said, "Can you please come down here and see if I can turn this into their creamery?" And he came in and he goes, "Yep, go for it." And so that's how the creamery came about. Okay. And then we were able to buy a bigger machine. So then we started producing that. We make 700 gallons of ice cream a week.
Man, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. How long was that process of maybe trial and error before you feel like you kind of maybe not perfected it?
I'm going to tell you, it only took me about a month.
Okay.
It only took, you learn how to measure. The problem with me is I do everything by taste. So I'm putting it in there and I'm pulling it out a little bit and tasting it, and I don't write it down. So then when the next person comes in to make the same thing, they're like, "How'd you do it?" And I'm like, "Oh, let me think about that." But there's certain flavors I cannot stand banana ice cream. And I would try to make that banana ice cream and I'd have to taste it and I would just be like, "Oh God." So I'd finally just come out of the back room and tell one of my employees, "Taste this, tell me if it's right." That one and black walnut. They're two big sellers, but I can't.
You don't like
they're
those,
not
Well, you got over 47 flavors, right?
Oh gosh, I've got 50, 60 because I bring in, like, I'm getting ready to start making all my fall flavors.
Yep.
Which are the heavier German chocolate, carrot cake, banana nut bread, ice cream, the heavier flavors that you get when it finally cools off eventually.
Yep. I know my favorite is the Creole praline. So
that's my number one seller.
Okay, really? Yeah. Well, what's the process of making the Creole praline?
It's a slight butter pecan flavoring, and then it's caramel that we swirl in there, and then my praline nibs, they call them, come from Tanner's.
Okay.
So they're homemade there, and then so we just put tons in there, and that is my number one seller. Yeah. The other day I had to go pick 2 up, and they said, "We know you need these, but they're still too warm to close up. So we're just going to loosely close it." And they put it in my car. And by the time I got to the creamery, my stomach was growling because my whole car smelled like a praline. It tasted. I was just like, I got to have some of those. So that is my number one seller. But I'm going to tell you, the Biscoff cookie is taking a lot of people love that one.
There we go. I'll try that one.
Yeah.
I know I try to venture out sometimes, and I do, but I just always end up going back to the Creole praline.
That's a big one. It's a good one. Yeah.
What about some of the theme flavors? I know, moon pie and king cake is so popular during Mardi Gras, Christmas tree cake. What's maybe some of the process that goes into that?
Okay, well, I came up with those flavors before I was making my own ice cream.
Okay, really?
I was broke. Business was slow. And I was like, I've got to figure out a way to pull people in here in the winter months.
Okay, so it's not a coincidence that all your flavored themed ice cream is in the wintertime.
So I went, and you have more time to play. In the summertime, when people come to me, "Will you make me this?" I'm like, "No, come back in October." But so I went and bought some moon pies, and I threw them in there. And I think the first year I made it was the first year the moon pie dropped in Mobile, was the first year. And I started with just the chocolate one. But you're taking ice cream, and it's kind of hard, and then you're crumbling those up and swirling, and my arm was just, and I'd put them in. It took off like crazy, and everybody was calling me, "I want to order 6 half-gallons of the," and I was like, "Oh, God," but you can't say no. And then we went to banana, and then we went to salted caramel.
So how do you create some of these new flavors? Specifically, like we mentioned, the moon pie and the king cake.
Yeah, well, sometimes
there's real king cake in the king cake ice cream,
there's an entire king cake, and then it's swirled with cream cheese icing, and that one's really, really good. Yeah. And that is over all of them are over on Fat Tuesday or Wednesday, Ash Wednesday, because we are so tired. A lot of people don't understand what my ice cream is different from others is everything's done by hand.
Right.
So all the mix is put in the machine and it's turning it and turning it. But the moon pies and the chocolate syrup, that is all done by hands, whereas the mass producers have the machines that feed it in.
Okay.
We're doing it by hand. So that's why it's so good. And we bake the cakes, we bake all of it.
Really? Okay, so you bake the king cakes too. Do you ever need taste testers for that?
Yeah.
Because I'll sign up.
I tell you, a lot of people are in line for that one.
Okay, I'm down the line then. All right. What about the revitalization kind of that's happened in Midtown, say the last 10 years or so?
Oh, it's fantastic.
That's had to have really, I mean, your ice cream shop is busier now, it seems like, than it ever has been as long as back as I can remember.
Oh, yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah. Would you consider a lot of that a big part of it?
That and me making my own ice cream.
Yeah.
Those two things together really did great. At one time when I first bought the ice cream shop, it was me, Roy at Butch Cassidy's, a Circle K, and Gail's building was still there, but I don't think he was open.
Right.
At the time. That was a gas station directly across the street.
Yep.
So yeah, and then you had Naaman's came in and they opened that little place, and then you had the wine bar, and then you had, but the Publix.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then Taco Mama, they're doing really, really good. So I love it because it's actually a walkable area.
Right.
And
I've
noticed that more people are walking and pushing their babies and coming up, to all those places. And I love that part of it.
Yeah.
I always say Midtown's just as good as Spring Hill.
Right. For sure, yeah.
As far as walking, we've got the same stuff.
It's absolutely more, just walkability there is way better.
Yeah.
A lot of the restaurants I know are also serving your ice cream. I know for one, Wenzel's Oyster House. I know my kids love to go there, and they get the kids meal at Wenzel's because it comes with a free scoop of Candy's Old Dutch.
Yes.
So are there any other restaurants that you know of that are also
Roosters,
serving your ice cream? Okay.
There's Dumbwaiter. There's Debris. Chuck's Fish. And I'm gonna feel so bad if I forget any more.
No, that's some good ones. That's good.
Yeah, those are really good.
And then I guess you also have a lot of other partnerships, right? I mean, you work with some other collaborations.
Well, you can. We have. So I opened an ice cream shop myself on Hall's Mill in front of my creamery. So you can go in there and have the same. We don't do table service there, but you get the same ice cream. And then I have an ice cream shop. They're not mine. It's their ice cream shop serving Cammie's. And they always come to me and they say, we want to call it Cammie's. And I'm like, not when you've put in 60, 70 hours. You don't want my name on there. You want your name on that ice cream shop.
Right.
You own it, not me. And so I'm in Baton Rouge. I'm in South Haven, Mississippi, which is close to Memphis. I'm in Prattville, Greenville, Birmingham, Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, Foley, and I know there's more.
Yeah.
We deliver that too. We deliver that.
How do the logistics of that work? Do you have an ice cream truck?
We have 2 ice cream trucks.
Okay.
We need a third.
Yeah.
We got to get another one. So it's hard. We finally have a driver. My husband was doing all of the delivering and stuff because people don't understand. Yeah, it sounds great. Go hire a driver. Your insurance goes up. You have to be careful you're hiring somebody that's not going to be driving like a crazy person down the road.
Right. With your name on the truck.
Yeah. So, but we finally have a really great guy. So he's doing the long hauls.
Okay. That's really cool. And then also, I know there's an ice cream trailer around town, and there's different other collaborations. I know that you work with some different. I know there's different cookies. I think L&J.
Yeah, L&J makes their cookies, and then they put my ice cream in it. Yeah. And then Bake My Day, I sell their Italian cream cake.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And then there's I always love to have stuff in there that's smaller. The smaller companies doing that.
Yeah, that's cool. And I guess not just ice cream in your store as well. I know that's the Blondie Sundae is probably one of the best desserts I've ever had in my entire life.
But I can't find the Blondies anymore. We sell a lot of brownies.
Yeah.
But they had a brownie that I could make, box brownie, because it's hard to do all that stuff homemade, and they quit making them. So I got to come up with something. But that's also a winter treat. But we do the brownies Sundays now, just the regular brownies. We sell probably 3 batches of brownies a day on the weekend.
Right. So not just ice cream. I know the banana split as well. I know some of my family, we've been in there.
Yeah,
we'll go in there. We'll share an entire banana split sometimes.
It's good. They're good. The parfait. I kept the entire menu that Mr. Whitemeyer had. That stays. We even still have the meal in one. I don't know if you ever knew about that.
No.
When I worked there, it's 5 scoops of ice cream and a raw egg.
Okay.
So when I worked there, we made those all the time. The football players would come from Murphy or McGill or UMS, and they would have one of those to bunk up, and have it. And so when I bought the place, the Board of Health came in and they opened the refrigerator and they said, "What are those eggs in here for?" I said, "For my meal in one." They go, "Don't you ever put a raw egg in a milkshake again?" I was like, "Okay." So we don't do that. We still have it. And if you're determined and want to bring me your egg, yes.
Okay.
But most people do not do that.
That's
I might sell one of those a month now.
Right. Okay, a little secret menu item.
Yeah, that's right.
What are some feedback that you've had through the years, and just maybe generations of Mobilians now have been going to Old Dutch? What's some feedback? Maybe some good stories that you've had. That you've heard.
Well, there was a gentleman, he was on his way to the hospital, and he told the ambulance driver, "Could you please pull into Old Dutch and get her to make me a chocolate malt before we go?" And so we did, and the ambulance did, and he had him a chocolate malt on the way. A lot of pregnant moms go on their checkups and all, and they come to the ice cream shop. I just attended my good friend Sarah Wilder's funeral. She was 108.
Wow.
We've been good friends for 25 years. And I did, for the last probably 8 years, I've done her birthday at Little Sisters. I would go and take ice cream.
Okay.
And we would celebrate. And she wanted ice cream at her funeral.
Really?
So after the funeral, everybody went and had her favorite strawberry and cookies and cream.
That's fantastic.
So it was beautiful.
That.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And just some of those stories just made me think, and even taking my family there, there's a bond, not just with food, but especially with ice cream. I feel.
Oh
like. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think is about that bringing people together like that?
Being what today is 9/11, I remember when that happened, and we were packed out.
Yeah.
Constantly. It was just that door just opening and opening and opening and opening, and everybody just wanted to be together, and everybody wanted to talk, and they would have their ice cream. And I've noticed that if we have a hurricane or something, that phone's just when are you going to be open? I think it's comfort, and it's the same thing.
Right.
They know it's going to be there. They know they can come there and have the same thing. And I think that means something to people.
Yeah.
I know it does to me.
Right.
And so I think that's why. But yeah, it's definitely a comfort.
Yeah.
Comfort food.
It is. I love that. What do you think? I guess I know I'll say it because but your ice cream shop is unique and it's beloved, like I said earlier, by Mobilians. What do you think you can attribute to that?
Consistency of a good product, and I am very, very fair on my prices.
Yeah, that's true.
And
too.
Mr. Whitemeyer was too. I do not have to be rich. I just want to survive, and I want everybody to be able to afford ice cream.
Yeah. That's a good point too, and I've caught myself several times at your ice cream shop thinking like, "There's no way, she didn't ring this up right."
Yeah.
So because you're right. So
and I do, and it's been easier since I control making it and stuff.
Sure.
But after all that happened with COVID and stuff, God, our price, we held on by the skin of our teeth, and I tried so hard we had to go up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I tried so hard to keep my prices down because everything from your napkins to your spoons, they didn't go up a little bit. Overnight, they shot up. It was that was a tough time.
Yeah. What about your future plans? What do you have planned for the future?
Okay, so I have the creamery. I have that shop. I have Old Shell, which will always be the mother store.
Right.
Always. It's not going anywhere.
It's not changing.
It's staying right there. That's my, I thought I had this big office over at the one on Hallsville, and I thought, well, I'll go over here because my office is tiny at Old Dutch. And I don't.
Yeah.
I'm still at Old Dutch. That's where everything happens. But I did put an offer in a building in Fairhope, And so hopefully I will be opening an ice cream shop there soon.
Very good.
I don't want to do it until the spring.
Yep.
And but my heart will always be on Florida and
Right.
Shell.
All right, that's good news. I know we have a lot of people that do listen to the podcast in Fairhope.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. That'll be really good.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. What's the location there?
It's on 24. It's the old Biscuit King
Okay,
building. We put in an offer. We got to get it surveyed and stuff. And I don't do biscuits. I'm sorry. I can make some ice cream that is out of this world, but you don't want me cooking for you.
That's fantastic. Well, before we transition to our next two segments of the podcast, I wanted to talk to y'all about the Food and Folly event that's coming up.
Oh, yeah.
So it's
Fun.
September 21st at Fort Whiting, 14th annual event, and they're going to have food. They're going to have over 20 local restaurants and caterers are going to be there, and they're going to have wine and beer and all kind of food and drinks. Silent auction, you can bid there on a Be Amble Bites tour, and a lot of other good things. I know I was checking out the silent auction online a couple days ago, and there was a lot of some hotel stays and a lot of cool Mobile stuff. Even one that caught my attention was you can have breakfast with Joe Kane.
Oh yeah.
With Wayne Dean.
Uh-huh.
So that's a pretty cool one. I might bid on that one just to. I mean that would be pretty cool to have lunch with Chief Slack. So
Yes.
There's a lot of cool. Like I said. It's going to be a really cool event, really cool night. I'm going to be down there. You mentioned earlier you're going to be supplying some ice cream there,
Oh,
right?
yeah. I think I've done it every year.
Okay.
Since they've
All
started.
14
yeah.
years? Okay.
So I've had, so I haven't decided what I'm going to serve yet, but I've done brownie sundaes. I've done, all kinds of stuff. It's a very nice evening.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. All right, so y'all go get your tickets. You can go to ucpmobile.org. And so all the proceeds are going to United Cerebral Palsy of Mobile. That's where, so if you buy tickets, that's what you're going to be donating to. But again, it's a fun night. We'll all be there, so I'm excited about it. I can't wait to see what you got lined
I know.
up.
I gotta figure that out. It's coming up.
Yeah, if you're listening to this show, right around the launch date here, it's going to be this Thursday. So got a couple days. You can still get the tickets. All right, so our next segment of the podcast is called Meat in 3. We've already gotten into the meat of the podcast. Now I've got 3 questions for you, 3 burning questions that everybody wants to know. And I couldn't get you out of here without asking you what your favorite flavor ice cream is.
This is gonna blow your mind. Vanilla. My vanilla.
Really?
I do not eat
Nothing
anyone
special.
else's ice cream. I haven't since I worked there for Mr. Wedemeyer in '84.
That's funny.
And if I go, I'm so disappointed when I try somebody else's ice cream.
Yeah.
I'm like, ugh. So yeah, it's vanilla. If I'm feeling crazy, I'll get chocolate chip because my chocolate chip does not have chips in it. It's like chocolate flakes. It's
Okay.
really good. But
Gotcha.
vanilla is my go-to.
Okay. You and your husband, what are some of the places that y'all like to go eat at, maybe for a date night? What are some local Mobile restaurants?
Well, in the summertime, our living room because we don't get to do anything. But we like Debris. We love that. The po' boy there. And, gosh, it's been a long time, but we did go to Dumbwaiter. But like I said, we're usually just working.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. I know what you mean. My third question is, so I'm assuming that you probably traveled to a lot of the locations that you mentioned, Baton Rouge and Birmingham, and even, so can you think of maybe a hole-in-the-wall little secret restaurant that you found in some of your travels going up to some of those ice cream shops? What are maybe some hole-in-the-wall places that you can
Tupelo.
think of?
I don't think it's a hole in the wall, but the Tupelo Hotel.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I love that
Yeah,
place.
and Tupelo, Mississippi?
Yes.
Okay.
So I make my husband drop me off there, and I go have a cocktail while he goes on up to South Haven and delivers the ice cream, and then he comes back. We try to make those long hauls date night too.
Okay.
So
That's good.
yeah, that hotel is really cool.
All right,
I like
that's very
that.
cool.
And then there's New Albany, Mississippi, I think. That's a cute little town.
Okay.
Lots of little towns because a lot of them are bringing their downtowns up back, and so
Ice cream shop right there in the center of town.
Yeah, and then downtown Prattville is adorable.
Okay. Yeah.
I love that place too.
All right, that's some good places. My next segment of the show is called Chris's Dishes, and this is where I talk about the best dish that I've had over the last week. And if you have a dish that you've had that you would think of, I'll share. You can share that also at the end. But my dish this week, and I really hate to go Baldwin County 2 episodes in a row, but I'm going to have to do it because I found a secret spot in Fairhope, and it just does not need to be a secret anymore. And it was one of the best experiences I've had. The Aloha Made Barbecue. Now they used to have a food truck. The Aloha Made Barbecue used to have a food trailer, and they used to go around different places. But now they're inside the VFW off of Nichols Avenue. And so if you know where the Hope Farm is and you know where Fairhope Brewing is, it's right past those two, right there on the right, right off Highway 98, right there in the center of town. I got the combo of the pork and the chicken. It's authentic Hawaiian food. And so it was phenomenal. It was nothing like I've ever had before. I've never been to Hawaii, never had Hawaiian food before. And so it really blew my mind. I got the fried rice for my side. And I'm telling you, I've never had a rice before with so much flavor. And it had egg and it had some sausage in it, but it did not need any kind of sauce or anything like that. Wow. So good. It was not dry. It also came with a little, like a side of macaroni salad. So that was pretty unique too. You know, another authentic, dish. But Azaria was the super sweet lady that worked there in the front. And her and I got to talking. I told her I'd never had authentic Hawaiian Spam before. And so she gave me one. And this is the Spam with it's topped. It was pretty good. It's pretty good. I know, like I said, I'm not a Spam eater at all, but it was topped with it was on the block of rice and it was all wrapped up together. Had a lot of good flavor. It was really good. So I was impressed. So don't knock it until you try it. Mm-hmm. It was really, really good. But I was so impressed with this place, and it's on, like I said, it's on the VFW right there, Nichols Avenue. There's some flags and stuff like that in the parking lot. So, and they've got a lot of signs and stuff, so you can't miss it. So I would definitely recommend going to check them out. It's their hours are 11 to 3 Tuesday through Friday, 11 to 4 on Saturday. So it's a lunch spot, but really, really good lunch spot. And like I said, Aloha made barbecue. I hated to do Baldwin County 2 weeks in a row, but that really was that was the best dish that I've had this week, and it was by far. Have you had a dish lately that you have that you want to shout out?
Gosh, I can't remember. But I tell you what, I live not far from that, and I've seen them out there,
okay.
So that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
But I don't know about that Spam. And I have been to Hawaii and went to a luau and had authentic food.
Okay.
So that'll be really, really exciting to go
it was really
there
good.
And try it.
And so
that's not
if you
far.
live close there, I mean, you could.
Yeah.
It's something you could easily take home. Which I know, like I said, it's just they're open just for lunch, but on Saturday,
mm-hmm.
You could definitely take it. It was so hot, so it would still be good if you took it home. They do have a little seating inside the VFW as well back there. So if you do want a relaxing place to sit, you can sit there too.
Well, I did. I went to Gambino's and had the chicken rocco.
Okay.
And that was really good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Very nice. I don't know if we've mentioned Gambino's on this episode.
Yeah.
I mean, on this podcast before.
Yeah, that was really, really good.
Yeah. We've been hitting up all a lot of the Fairhope restaurants here lately.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like we've been talking about those on the podcast, whether it's Baby's Cafe and Dragonfly and
mm-hmm.
Southwood Kitchen. Those always seem like they get mentioned on our podcast every single time I'm with somebody.
Yeah.
But so there's a lot of good stuff going on over there. Well, Candy, thanks so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this has been a really good episode. It's so
well,
informative and fun. And like I said, I know everybody listening is so familiar with your ice cream shop and loves going there. And I know when I was thinking about this when I was kind of preparing for the show, I grew up in Saraland. And we didn't come to Old Dutch, like I know a lot of the Saraland parents and all come to now, mm-hmm. For me, and I know for a lot of my friends, of course we go to Taco Mama and then we go across the street to Old Dutch. That's definitely that's a tradition for a lot of families that I know of. So,
it is.
But that's really cool. So I was excited and excited to share this episode with everybody.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank y'all for listening to the Port City Plate podcast. Another exciting news. We're right here at our 1 year anniversary. So we've hit the 1 year mark on the podcast. So it's been really exciting. I've had a lot of fun doing it. And I saw those stat this week where my podcast, the publisher kind of sent me a little note and said that only 10% of podcasts ever make it to 1 year. So we're in the 90th percentile. So that was pretty exciting and pretty fun. So we're gonna keep doing this for sure. And there's so many good stories out there, like this one, and like we got Deborah, and we got a lot more coming up for you soon. So thank y'all for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.